normal learning is provided to school kids or infants. So adult learning differs from general learning or the teaching methodology which is provided to the youngsters, and identify the learning styles which suit them the best. That basically means when we are talking about learning or providing students with learning platform, we generally go through the classroom teaching. The methodology which is adopted is generally the same across the whole world. But when it comes to adult learning, they have to be distinct and different because individuals or at some point when we are talking about adults they have to volunteer to learn. They cannot be forced just like we are forcing our kids to learn. Next is the five assumptions about the adult learning theory. The first point is self-concept. So when we realize as an individual that we need to develop ourselves. So basically, the adult has to realize that development is internal, and hence the employee, the subordinate, the person, individual itself has to undergo some kind of a developmental change, and that is going to translate on the job as well as is going to be, or the person is going to benefit out of it. Next is the adult learner experiences. Experiences basically mean how we have faced a earlier situation and how we have reacted to the earlier situation. Were we scared because we were not trained? Were we, apprehensive about the outcome of the situation? And now, post training or post gaining some knowledge, what kind of development we have gained. So experiences also teach individual persons how to react and how to come up with innovation and creativity when doing their on day-to-day activity. Readiness to learn. See, if I am willing as a human being, nobody can force me to take up a particular course or go in for higher skill or upskilling. So I have to initially be ready for it. I have to make up my mind and again then go for it. Orientation of learning, adults tend to learn something if their learning is practicably applicable to their job or to their lives. So basically, I cannot, the process is very simple. I need to learn something that has to be practically usable on the job. When I'm learning a technical skill, I'm learning about new software, I have to understand that this particular thing is again, uh, you know, this particular thing is only applicable to my day-to-day life. Then only I am going to, have that zeal to learn, motivation to learn. Motivation is again the self-interest of the individual. Otherwise, we cannot force force training on someone down their throat. So it doesn't happen like that. Next is kindly mute yourselves. Kindly mute yourselves. A- Apply adult learning theory to your corporate learning. First is analyze, or this is the process where we are going to, transfer our training. Analyze your learning with the theory in mind, what we have learned, and how, in what situation we are going to implement it on our job. Collaborate on the learning you are providing. Enable self-directed learning. Enable self-directed learning basically means we plan our own process, methodology, and how we are going to study, what at time we are going to provide to study. Use real world Use real world learning examples. Case studies help a lot. Moreover, when we are
Honda Axel Honda Jeepa
ଯିବ ଘଣ୍ଟେ ପରେ ଯିବ କେତେ ହେଲା ହଁ
are you guys done talking?
विश्राम दे दियो
Are you guys done talking? Kindly mute yourselves. So, let your learners figure it out themselves. Let your learners figure it out themselves basically means when, as you know, learners, we are given a problem or we are given, we are given the issue at hand, and we are also given that much of independence to come up with creative, innovative solutions to resolve that problem. So, thereby, what happens is it develops the learners. It develops the learners, you know, understanding. It develops the learners' innovative skills, creativity, and thereby, it is practically implementable on the job. When we are faced with a critical issue on the job, our creativity, our innovation comes forth because we are already prepared for it. Experimentation is this key, is the key. See, when there is a prescribed of method to go about a particular problem, innovation and creativity is generated through a lot of practice. So you are instantly coming up with different kind of alternatives to a particular solution. So when we are doing experimentation, we are prepared to handle a particular problem in many ways. Moving on, learning types, David A. Kolb's model: accommodator, converger, diverger, assimilator. Concrete experience with active experiment, strong in hands-on practical doing, that is physical therapists or physically people those who are doing physical activity. Converger, abstract conceptualization. This may not come, but I'll just complete it. Abstract conceptualization plus active experiment, strong practical hands-on application of theories that are ingenious. Diverger, concrete experience, reflective observation, strong in imaginative ability and discussion. So basically, reflective observation creates your, different kind of, when we are reflectively observing, we are analyzing which is the experience, or rather, we are depending upon our experience, and we are going to come up with different solutions for a problem. So we are becoming more creative. Assimilator, abstract conceptualization of the issue, reflective observation, strong in inductive reasoning and creation of theories. Basically, those people who are going to create theories, say for example, in our those people who are very good in compiling the data, and then we are analyzing that particular data and coming up with practicable suggestions to the top level manager ki yes, this is the data that is showing that yes, the consumption pattern for this quarter, or say for example on a half yearly basis, is going to be so and so, and the rate of materials is going to be so and so. So that helps managers take the decisions. Next is learning tribe by Honey and Mumford. Learning styles, concrete experiences with first and second. Reflective observation, that is watching, creates reflectors. So basically, the reflectors are those people who have concrete experiences along with reflective. When we are reflecting on something, what happens is we are again becoming or trying to become a visionary. Next is your reflective observation along with abstract conceptualization. We are creating theorists or people who are dependent upon data, who can come up with, those people are basically creating a theory. Thereby, we can understand what is the situation at hand and we can come up with better solutions. Next is abstract conceptualization with active participation becomes pragmatist. A pragmatist is a actively involved individual who or a manager who takes positive steps towards the betterment or risk-taking ability. That is a requirement for modern day managers. We cannot be bottled down because competition may take the risk and higher the risk, higher the reward. So active experimentation along with concrete experiment, activists. So active experimentation with concrete experimentation, concrete experience shows that a particular person is willing to play a long term game and willing to, the manager has the ability to plan for a long term basis. So this is how this works. Next is Neil Fleming's WARC model. Visual learners, kindly look at this diagram. Is visual, auditory, reading, writing, and kinesthetic. So what is this? Visual learners have a preference for seeing visual aids that represent ideas using methods other than words, such as graphs, charts, diagrams, symbols, and etc. All these are necessary. Say, for example, when we are forecasting something, when we are summarizing the efforts, and we are going to analyze what was the performance of the business in a particular quarter, in a say for a limited time period. Then what happens is we are going to come up with, we are going to understand where we stand now. Next is subsequently neuroimaging. Research has suggested that visual learners convert words into images in the brain and vice versa. But some psychologists have argued that it is not the instance of learning styles, rather, it is an instance of ability appearing as a style. So, it is an ability to create words into images, but it is again a process of, or rather it is a learning process. When we are learning or managers having an ability to converge or compile data in their brain, and they can come up with the situation where we stand now, what are our resources. If such questions are already there in the brain, say for example, I have provided all the data, all the data is provided to me, I have compiled the data in my brain, and I can understand where we stand now, and I can also make this decision where we are going to go. Next is auditory learners best learn through listening, lectures, discussion tapes, etc. Tactile or kinesthetic learners prefer to learn via experience, moving, touching, doing, and everything. Active exploration of of the world, science projects, experiments, etc. Moving on, designing a learning environment. For this, I will also give you a a write up later on when we finish the course. But just we are going to go through this. Designing a learning environment, conduct a need assessment. All know what is need assessment. We have to understand why a particular training is required, or why we need to have our employees developing themselves. So we need to understand. For that, we need to conduct need assessment. Determine employee readiness for training. See, if employee here the adult learning comes to forefront. Employees are all adults. We cannot force the training down their throat. So we have to understand what is the readiness of the training. Uh, Create a learning environment. Learning environment is basically focused on those people who are, willing to participate and develop themselves, and creating environment where there is a positive frame of mind, and it induces, eventually it induces the self-confidence of the employees. Next is ensure transfer of learning or transfer of training. Ensure transfer of training is basically when we are learning something that has to be translated on the job. If I am translating my training on the job, then obviously the confidence level as well as the performance, which is the ultimate goal of any training, is achieved. Next is develop an evaluation plan assessment. We have to find out if the training is effective enough, and training effectiveness is assessed through evaluation. Evaluation will also, help managers or supervisors create or distinct those create a distinction between employees where they can assess whose performance is developed or whose performance has developed through the training. Next is monitor and evaluate learning. Monitor and evaluate learning is basically when we are implementing training, we have to see phase wise what is the progress of each individual, because we cannot keep all the individuals do not have the same level of perception. Some are slow, some are extremely fast, and thereby we need to create a platform where all of them come together in a minimum standardized manner. I need a minimum score of 50, or rather I need people to have at least some kind of a confidence level where they are going to perform. The bare minimum results which I am going to expect is going to be attained through monitoring and evaluation. Next is we are going to start with module 2. Is the slide visible? One of you can unmute and tell me.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, it is visible.
So training needs and methods. I've covered the analysis. I've covered the need assessment. ADDIE model. It is the one of the most basic models of training, or earlier it was used in the military. In the World War II, it was developed to train the military personnel. It was then adopted by the school teachers in the US of A. And what is that? We are going to analyze, design, develop, implement, and evaluate. What we are going to do? We are going to analyze, design, develop, and implement the learning or the module which we are going to teach, or rather, our target audience has to be analyzed first. For them, a particular training or a teaching or a learning material has to be developed, designed, and see, next is development. We are going to implement the training. How we are going to do it? Design development. We have done all these things. We are going to implement. Then we are going to evaluate how much of learning is provided from instructor to the trainees. Next is this I have covered. This is this slide visible?
Yes, sir. Visible.
Okay, systematic training design. First point is conduct need assessment. Organizational analysis is done. What kind of people are there, how many people are there, how many departments are there, what are the functional departments that are operating in our organization, all these things. Person analysis is a very individualistic in nature. We are going to assess the human or the person who has been hired for a particular position. What is the knowledge level, what is the skill level, everything has to be noted. Task analysis is again the role and responsibility which is provided to a particular person, and we are going to assess the job requirements, and we are going to again, the reason being, we are going to assess what skill upgradation, what minimum knowledge basis is required for that particular job. Next is ensuring employees readiness to training, attitudes and motivation, basic skills. So attitude attitudes and motivation are extremely crucial, because a positive attitude with good motivation level they may be lacking in skills or whatever, that particular person will be much easier to handle. That particular employee is going to be much easier to develop him into a better leader for tomorrow. Next is creating a learning environment. Learning objectives are to be again put forth. Why we are going to do the training, what is the purpose, so on and so forth. Meaningful material. I cannot design a training program and provide a material for some other training program. So relevant material has to be provided. Objectives are to be kept. Objectives here are to be considered, and hence the material is to again aid the trainees to learn something. Next is practice. We are going to make them continuously do that particular activity so that they are proficient enough. Feedback is required. Community of learning. Community is basically creating a group of 2 or 3 peers are clubbed together so that there is rather when we are creating a study group, this is same thing, community of learning. What is modeling over here? Anybody? What is modeling over here? Anyone? No one? What is modeling?
No idea, sir.
When you are creating a flow chart, what is the purpose of a flow chart? Okay, fine.
It gives us
To
clear
get
purpose
some
of
overall
the
idea.
So basically modeling is what? Of the learning environment, of the training program, modeling will be what?
So in your the all the design, all the subject, how to do.
Say
Sir,
for
prepare
example,
a flowchart.
flow chart is a kind of a model. Fine, that's why I said flow chart. But what is the purpose of modeling? What is a model? It is kind of a chart or a diagram. Do we all agree to that?
Flowchart.
It is a kind of a chart. It may be a flow chart. It can be any kind of a chart. But it is a chart, isn't it? Or it is a diagrammatic representation. Do you all agree to it or not?
Yes, sir.
If so, then when we are going to design our training program, we can represent it as a model also. What happens is phase one, what happens in phase two. Club together, the whole process is shown in a
That
diagrammatic.
means it's the total syllabus. What we learn in the training, the total syllabus should be present in a flowchart.
Yes, why will you not show that? When
Okay,
we are
sir.
going to see what is the process chart then?
Sir, we can say basically a brief and
No,
basic knowledge.
what is a process chart? Have you all have some basic idea of
Process charts means a step-by-step manner what we have to do. Is that?
no, process chart is a step by step, is correct. But what is the purpose of a process chart? From step one till the last step, from raw
Yes, sir.
material, say for example in production, the process chart will be from step one will be production, the acquiring of raw material.
Yes, sir.
Last is either you are going to sell your final product or you are going to warehouse it. Warehouse then sell, whatever. So that
Yes,
is the
sir.
process chart. In
Yes, sir.
modeling, we are designing a training program by creating. First is what? The program has to have its own objectives. That is step one. Why we are going to require the training. So that is modeling. From creating the objectives, then we are going to decide who are our target audience. Next, we are going to move into the methodology. Say it may be a classroom study. It may be a conference where we are going to learn. In conferences, say for example, excuse me. So, for example, medical conferences, they come up with innovative topics. There a lot of people or a lot of doctors from the similar field or from the same field gather together to acquire knowledge. So, same thing. We are going to create a model where we are going to clearly state what is the objective of the training program. Then comes the kind of training which is to be provided. Who is going to provide it? It is there already mentioned. The training program, the process of training program represented in a graphical model or graphical representation is modeling. Am I clear? Am I
Yes, sir.
clear?
Yes, sir.
Program administration is what? How we are going to implement. HR department takes care of the training aspect. But related to finance training, finance department is also should be there, representative of the finance department. And people or the person who is going to be responsible for the overall training is always the HR people. But the supervisor has to appraise of the development of the trainees who are undertaking the training program. So, program administration is basically administering the whole training program, ensuring transfer of training, self-management, peer and manager support. So, for example, transfer of training basically, I have also mentioned earlier, it is what we learn and what amount of training is reflected on the job by the person. Self-management is basically nothing but we are managing ourselves. I do not need supervision. Whatever I have learned, I am going to do it on my own and it is going to be reflective of my productivity. Next is peer and manager support. Those people who have taken the training with me, if I have any doubt, I can always depend upon them. Supervisor is the manager.
Colleagues.
Yes. Next is developing an evaluation plan, identifying learning outcomes or what is the predicted outcome that I'm going to or predicted outcome in productivity that is to be identified. That I'm going to standardize and create. Choose a evaluation design. Evaluation design is nothing but what amount of training is transferred eventually to the employee or to the trainee. Next is plan cost benefit analysis. This is a very crucial point because all training is cost to the company if there is no outcome. It is an investment only if there is a positive outcome or when there is higher productivity. Otherwise, everything becomes cost. Next is selecting a training method, traditional versus e-learning. Next is traditional, we'll go through on the job, of the job, we'll go through on the job. Monitor and evaluate the program, conduct evaluation, make changes to improve the program. Conduct
But
the
ଆପଣଙ୍କ
conduct
voice ଟା ଟିକେ
evaluation.
slow ଆସୁଛି, ଟିକେ ଜୋରେ କହିଲେ ଭଲ ହୁଅନ୍ତା, ଟିକେ slow ଆସୁଛି ଆପଣଙ୍କ voice ଟା।
Really? I think I'm speaking at the top of my voice. Can you not increase the volume? Am I really speaking slowly?
Yes, sir.
Is my voice? I'm speaking slowly. Okay, I'll
Yes, sir.
increase the volume. How? Is my voice audible now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So now it's okay, sir.
Okay. So next is conduct evaluation, make changes to improve the program. Make changes to improve the program is when we are through modeling, we can identify what phased manner we are implementing the training. So thereby we can evaluate and understand as a implementer of the training program or the administrator of the training program, if there is a lacuna in training itself. Why? Because we can again understand if there is a lacuna through evaluation, and we can assess if the overall performance of the trainees is not up to mark. Then it shows that the training program itself is full of lacuna. Then we are going to go to the first step, then we are going to change it. Moving on. Why training, or what is training? Helping employees to become effective in their jobs. From this slide onwards, everything becomes a bit boring, so kindly bear with me. This particular presentation is,
Sir, is the second chapter?
yes, this is second.
Okay, sir.
From here on, there are 100 slides or so. So kindly, we have to finish it fast. So bear with me. Helping employees to become effective in the jobs is one of the fundamental human resources HRM activity. Employers depend on the quality of their employees' performance to achieve organizational aims and objectives. See, when the core competency of when the core competency of the employees within an organization is high enough, then it reflects on their productivity, it reflects on the uh, overall organizational climate, and it also shows the cohesion between the employees. Next is employees have motivational needs for development, recognition, status, achievement, etc. can and should be met through job satisfaction. Hence, with high level of job satisfaction, an employee shows, or the organization shows a environment, or a learning organization shows an environment where the employees are given freedom to express themselves freely, creatively. They are provided with ample opportunities to develop and acquire new skills, so on and so forth. The initiative for providing this help must come mainly from the employer. So we need to push our employees a bit, so that they can have that initial the push has to be provided by the employers. Next is
Jyoti Krishna, please kindly mute yourself.
the vocabulary to provide this kind of help in the context of work includes terms like training, development, education, and more recently human resources development. Everything clubbed together in a business and situation. The jargon is HR development. So the main effective performance logically leads to following important conclusions that determine the design and provision of training. Provision training in practice, such as training, is always a means to an end and not the end itself. Why it is not an end itself? Why training is not, it's a means to an end, but not the end itself?
So it's a continuous process, sir, for learning.
Exactly. So it is a continuous process. When we are promoted, we may be faced with new challenges, and we need to continuously adapt ourselves and keep developing ourselves. Next is effective performance in terms of knowledge, skills, and attitudes by means of job analysis is of fundamental importance. I've covered all these things. Why job analysis? We have to find out the requisite knowledge for a particular job, requisite skill sets for a particular job, as well as the motivation level. Next is, so for example, there is a high risk job. So, for example, an operator working on delicate machinery or at a very high height altitude. So we have to have that kind of a person who's willing to risk their life. Next is, and for that skill set at motivation level has to be paramount. It should be considered as an integral part and vital part of the whole work system. Managers are responsible for effective performance of work to gain organizational aims and objectives. They should see the employees are effectively trained. Obviously, it is part and parcel of the managerial job. Management has main responsibility. All staff in the organization are involved in training managerial personnel and training staff. Next, the purpose of training may be achieved by variety of means. Sole criteria of choice of method is whatever will cost effectively achieve specific objectives. So, cost benefit analysis is done. What kind of training? We cannot provide them costly training if we do not have the budget. So, we have to identify all those things. Next is the development of an organization's human resources applies to all its employees and most of the senior to the most junior. So everybody needs to develop themselves. Everybody can be trained within an organization. Nobody is immune. All those responsible for training in any shape or form need themselves to be trained for the task also. So, for example, I am administering a training. HRM department needs to administer a training in a different functional area. I need to understand, I need to train myself first to then, or rather, as a faculty, I need to read first. Then only I can teach my students. If I don't prepare myself and my students are continuously going to ask me questions, then I will not be able to clear the doubts. Whatever I am going to teach, the effort itself will not, have be fruitful because I am going to teach them something. If they do, not, if my students are not understanding, the transfer of training from me to them is not effective. Next is to integrate training with work. Training has to be based on systems approach to training. Kindly find this out. From your you do not have a book, but I have sent you a book in your thing. Go to it and find out what is systems approach to training. This is a modern day jargon. The questions may come. So, what is systems approach to training? Training permeates or involves the whole organization. It is related directly to all its main functions. The central direction of systems approach to training must involve collaboration of senior objective representatives of the organizational staff, that is operation, finance, personnel. So all functional department representatives have to be present. The general responsibilities of the staff is concerned with the central direction of the systems approach to training is defined as to formulate, publish policy, plans for training. So when a committee is created, systems approach to training is when all representatives of the functional areas are present. They are going to come up with a plan or a training policy. Here the main thing is training policy. I'll write two things. Large organizations publish training policy. That doesn't mean small organization cannot have. Okay. So training policy is a document that includes what? The kind of training that is to be provided based on job analysis. Next is the kind of skill sets which is to be provided. Who is going to provide? What kind of training is provided? The duration of the training, the nature of the outcome, or the parameters which are required to be performed, so on and so forth. Each and everything. So for example, I'll take the example of, say, in Odisha, we have very big PSU, Nalco. They have a training policy. They cannot identify कि नहीं Tanmay is to be provided training. No, if I am in a particular grade within that company, today I am in this grade, tomorrow I will be promoted to some other grade. So for a particular grade, what kind of training and skill set is required through KSA analysis we are going to do, that is need assessment. Next, to provide human and material resources needed. Material resources are what handouts we are going to need to enhance our knowledge, so on and so forth. Formal apparatus needed to make systems approach to training work effectively. That is formal systems to identify work related training need, design work related training to meet identified needs, assessing the effectiveness of training in terms of training objectives and actual work performance. So formal apparatus needed is equipments required to perform training. I need a projector, I need a classroom, I need a set of comfy seats, I need a conducive environment where the temperature is again helping the trainees to learn. Eventually, the employees or the trainees, they are going to sit in a cold environment, learn new things. So all these things are apparatus or equipments. Identify work related training needs. Need analysis either on it. This is again on KSA. Work related training need to be identified, the assessing the effectiveness of the training in terms of training objectives and actual work performance. So here another thing, actual performance versus expected expected performance. Actual performance is what is the actual productivity of a particular employee currently vis-a-vis what is the expected performance post the training. And this analysis will help you to understand if there is a positive or negative. It is going to help you if there is a positive or a negative improvement post the training. To define responsibilities of all staff for implementation of this particular training program, when I have to find out within the HRM personnel who all are going to collaborate with what functional department to provide the training. So I have to identify those people first. Next is to prescribe all formal communication methods needed for effective functioning. HR manager or the functional head is going to talk to the HR head. They are going to come up with a schedule. They are going to come up with, say, for example, they need to decide upon certain factors. Is the expert from the within the organization, or are we going to hire an expert from the industry? Who is going to provide the training? What kind of equipments are required? Each and everything is to be clearly communicated between two functional heads. Basically, HR will always be there because it is the purview of the HRM department. But what other functional head is involved, there has to be clear cut communication over here. So thereby there is no ambiguity. Next is to coordinate the training work of various subunits of the organization. Subunits, maybe there are many strategic business units. SBI has many branches even in certain blocks. When a particular, so I to give the example of Nalco. SBI also has certain grades of employee E1, E2, E3, 4, so on and so forth. Say for example, so when we have designed a training module for E1 or E2, it is to be again implemented. SBI management has taken a decision. The training is to be provided, and hence there is an email which will be sent to different branches of SBI wherever they may be present. Even a small branch is going to be involved, and hence we are going to coordinate the training program over there, act as a focal point for the exchange and dissemination of ideas or a free flow of idea into the organization to improve cost effectiveness, to act as a line with external world of training and bring new ideas to organization to improve cost effectiveness. So whatever latest is happening in the global stage, global arena, and that positively impacts your day-to-day activity of the business, productivity of the business, and easing the pressure on employees. Employees are under a constant pressure. Target, target, target. They are going to be under constant pressure to create, come up with new innovation, create new business opportunities. So we have to see to it that the pressure is limited. Say there are many companies with a lot of competitions. Pressure is immense. People or the HR is always constantly on their toes to come up with innovative stress relieving exercise, stress relieving activities. So what so their proposal is, we are going to create a team building activity. Let's go, we'll climb a particular mountain. Let's go to the beach, we will have a fun day. So all these things are considered. These are also a kind of training. To monitor cost effective functioning of the systems approach to training, the cost effectiveness of training in the organization. Everything is cost if only there is no productivity. If there is positive productivity, it is an investment. Training methods. Two types, on the job and off the job. Continuing with the on the job. Advantage. What is the advantage? Requires no extra space and attention. It is very special. Most common way most common way that employees receive instruction in industry allows to practice what is expected or what the person is expected to do on the job. Next is expensive equipment. Workspace is tied up with existing employees. Expensive equipment. Why? What is the why we are using this? Yes, because once the equipment gets damaged, we cannot, it cannot be easily replaced. Say, for example, I am destroying a computer. The data over there may be extremely crucial, hence it becomes expensive. High wastage. I am going to waste my time. I am going to. This concept is basically on the time based. Earlier, it was when manufacturing unit was concerned, taken into consideration, raw material high wastage during training process was considered. But in service areas, time is of utmost importance because when we are operating in global scale, we have to again compete with Japanese firms, which are 3 hours ahead of us, and we are going to compete with the European firms, which are 5 years, 5 hours, after us. Then we are going to again compete with the US people who are again 12 hours behind us. So hence, we are going to, though we have an advantage, but they have the technology or they have the process to catch up. We are again, under a lot of pressure to compete. So we need competent personnel on the job, or the training is creating a platform, or we are going to create a platform where there is going to be competitive personnel which we are going to generate. Trainee will be under pressure. Trainee is constantly monitored by their direct supervisors. Why? Because if I basically feel like that when I am being supervised upon, or somebody is from behind is looking at me, I always kind of feel nervous. So it affects my performance. So that kind of thing is there. Next is
So the disadvantages of on-job training, the first point I could not understand, sir. Expensive equipments, yes, sir.
Operator operating in a manufacturing unit, you or a person who's going to be trained, can you entrust crores of machinery on that particular person? If something goes to where, something goes wrong, can you entrust sensitive data which is there in your laptop to be accessed by a trainee?
No, sir. Okay.
Moving on. Types of on-the-job training: induction, orientation, job instruction training, apprentice. Kindly take a screenshot of this. kindly take a screenshot of this slide.
Yes, sir.
Tomorrow we are going to discuss about it. Kindly come prepared. Most of you are participating. I would like more participation also. Through discussion only we are going to finish the course much faster. So kindly, I request all of you to kindly come prepared. The book which I have provided may not contain everything, but yes, if you come prepared, some kind of an idea, we are going to have a healthy discussion. So types of all the job training: induction, orientation.
Sir, whatever you are studying today, na sir, so please share the PPT, sir, because we have no books till now, sir. That's why.
Madam, the first thing is I have to send everything after I teach. Say for example, I am going to send your friend the first unit PPT today itself. I had sent 4 or 5 slides. It doesn't have any meaning. When you are, if I'm going to divide the PPTs, then it doesn't have any meaning. Once we are going to send it together, then only you are going to follow it. Dividing the PPT doesn't have any meaning. My request is kindly do not ask like that. Sir will only send you after I have completed the unit. That is how it is going to happen. And other material, as and when I have to send, I am going to send it to you. Okay? I hope ତମେ ଅଭିମାନ କରିବନି ୟା ପାଇଁ କି ସାର୍ ଆମକୁ material ଦଉନାହାନ୍ତି ହେଲା. So what I'm trying to say is I am going to give you the material after I have completed a particular unit or a module. Kindly wait for it. So first is okay the okay, it's okay or not?
Okay, sir. That is okay.
So induction, orientation training, job instruction training, apprentice training, internship and assistantship, job rotation, coaching, management training, junior. Continuing with the first one. So what is induction? Induction is not here. What is induction?
Introduction to a new job.
So what is orientation? Is induction and orientation the same?
Yes, sir.
How?
No, sir.
No, sir. Yes, sir. Kindly explain your answers. Tomorrow we are going to continue, but today I'm going to have a 5 minutes discussion on this. Let us go through this slide again. My question was simple. Is induction and orientation the same thing? Or is it different?
No, sir, no idea.
Induction?
Sir, in
Here-
case of induction training, to make the new entrants familiar with the organization is the main motive. And in case of orientation training, it is oriented towards a particular performance or particular job role, as per my understanding.
No, you are absolutely correct. Induction is nothing but introducing employees to the different people who are working in an organization, to the different departments which are there within an organization. Orientation is basically introducing the individual or the inductee into the kind of job role that a person is expected to perform. Job instruction and training. What is job instruction training? Any idea? Okay, another tough question. Apprentice training and assistantship. What is that? Job instruction training is much easier. What is apprentice training and what is assistantship?
Apprentice training is one kind of training which is getting the salary as a apprenticeship schemes.
Yes, And what is assistantship? We are also getting paid over there. Nobody.
Sorry, sir. Sir.
Apprenticeship is where you said
Yes.
we are getting paid and we are provided learning. What is assistantship?
Yes.
It is the same thing than apprenticeship.
Internship, sir, you were saying internship or I'm not getting your.
Assistant, internship and assistantship. There are three things. And you look at the slide.
Okay.
I'm talking about
Assistant.
apprentice,
Assistantship,
internship, and
assistantship is
assistantship.
one kind of training, one kind of internship, the next mode of training, sir.
Here
Sir, it
it
is
may be the trainer may be paid or may not be paid, sir.
Sir, it
Where?
is an assistantship is a temporary type of job, and in which it is there to be paid. But in
Kindly, all of you, kindly think about who is going to replace me, or somebody is going to replace me. What is that?
Okay.
I as a manager.
so someone else is assisting you, means for a timing is substituting you and is guiding for the
What is
guide.
that? What kind of training is that?
Assistance.
What is internship? What is apprenticeship? Who are apprentices? Can I give you a hint?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
For apprenticeship, I'm going to give you a simple hint. Shilpkar, sculpture, painting, painter, so on and so forth, and delicate skills. So for that, apprenticeship is done. Why? Because those are delicate things. What is internship? Everything else is internship or assistantship. Am I clear?
Sir, repeat again.
No, sir.
When, say, for example, medical, people, surgeons, they have apprentices under them, working under them, or they have interns under them, the jargon. But their skill set, is art or not. If management is both science and art, the job of a surgeon is also an art.
Yes, sir.
Do you understand the logic? Do all of you understand this logic?
No, sir.
Think about it. Tomorrow we'll continue. Okay?
Okay,
I
sir.
have taught today something, and I have
Okay,
confused you with something. If you are clarified, then we'll have a discussion tomorrow and we'll continue. Okay? Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Sir,
Yes? Any question?
sir, ଏଇ PDF ଗୁଡାକୁ ଟିକେ ରଶ୍ମି ମ୍ୟାମ୍ କୁ ସେୟାର କରିଦେବେ କି ସେ ଗ୍ରୁପ ରେ ସେୟାର କଲେ ଟିକେ ଭଲ ହୁଅନ୍ତା। ପର୍ସନାଲି କାହାକୁ ଦେଇଦେଲେ ସାର୍ ଜଣା ପଡୁନି।
How ठीक है? I'll share it with Rashmi ma'am and I'll ask her to share it. Okay?
Okay. Thank you, sir.
But course सरला ପରେ course ଆଗରୁ କିଛି ପଚାରିବି।
ହଉ sir.
ହେଲା? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.